Yeah, I hope the net does not disconnect again. So now the cranial parasympathetic ganglia of head and neck. So yesterday the class was about the trigeminal nerve and its branches. I hope you remember there are three divisions: ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular, and quite a number of branches coming from them. And I've told you that there are four ganglia which are related or associated with the branches of this trigeminal. And they are the ciliary ganglion, pterygopalatine, otic, and the submandibular ganglia. So that we are going to know about them in detail in this class. So the heading here, it's like cranial parasympathetic ganglia of head and neck. So what does that mean? So let's just recapitulate your autonomic nervous system. So ANS is having two components. So one is a sympathetic nervous system and the other is a parasympathetic nervous system. And what's the main control of ANS? It is the hypothalamus. And also limbic system as well as your reticular system. So they're all controlling your autonomic nervous system. And autonomic nervous system is having sympathetic and parasympathetic, and by way of two nerves, they reach their destination, end organ. So what are those two nerves called? The preganglionic fiber and the postganglionic fiber. So where these two synapses is the ganglia. Okay. So if you see the central nervous system, so we've got the brainstem and the spinal cord. So do you think that throughout your CNS, you're having the preganglionic autonomic fibers? No. So they are going to divide. So from the, if you remember your spinal cord sections, the gray matter is having a lateral horn also. So this lateral horns of the spinal cord, they lodge the preganglionic cell bodies. So from your T1 to L2, that is the first thoracic spinal segment up to the second lumbar segment. So these are these lateral horns at these levels, they are having the preganglionic sympathetic fibers. So when we talk of sympathetic fibers, we say it is a thoracolumbar outflow. So thoracolumbar outflow is what? From T1 to L2, the lateral horns of these spinal segment, they have the preganglionic fiber, sympathetic fiber cell bodies there. Okay. Then coming to the parasympathetic system. So in the entire spinal cord, it's just they occupy the S2, S3, S4 segments of your spinal cord. So if you see sections at this level, you will find a lateral horn there, and this is the origin of the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers in the spinal cord. Then again back in the brainstem. So previously I've shown you there are three columns for the motor, and then we've talked about Edinger-Westphal nucleus, then salivatory nuclei, and dorsal nucleus of vagus. So these are the names. So what is there in the lateral horns? That we have given some names in the brainstem. So Edinger-Westphal nucleus, then lacrimatory and superior salivatory nucleus, the inferior salivatory nucleus, and dorsal nucleus of vagus. So now when you see the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers, so the cell bodies are both in the brainstem as well as in your spinal cord. So we talk of parasympathetic outflow as a craniosacral outflow. I hope you understood this, okay? So thoracolumbar outflow refers to sympathetic preganglionic fibers. And craniosacral outflow, it represents or it reflects the parasympathetic preganglionic fibers exiting out. Then coming to the ganglia. So sympathetic ganglia are more close to your CNS, like they are either arranged in the chains on either side of your vertebral column as the sympathetic trunks, or in front of your vertebral bodies as the prevertebral ganglia. Whereas parasympathetic ganglia, these are very much close to the organs, or they are in the wall. So there are only short postganglionic fibers that arise. Okay. So, and but the cranial parasympathetic ganglia of your head and neck region, so these are named. So they are the ciliary ganglion, pterygopalatine, submandibular, otic ganglion. So about that is what we have to know today. Okay. So cranial is representing the ganglia which are located in the cranium. That is your head region. Then parasympathetic ganglia of head and neck. So autonomic system controls your involuntary activities of the body, and it is having two components, that is sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So this motor fibers, so these are motor fibers. So autonomic system is motor. So it is giving motor fibers to what? It gives to your smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and the glands. So except your skeletal muscle in your body, rest all are innervated by your autonomic nervous system. Okay. So this pathway is having how many neurons? It is having two sets of neurons. One is a preganglionic neuron whose cell body is there within the central nervous system. Okay, so it is either in these 4 nuclei which I have mentioned previously or in the lateral horns of the mentioned spinal segments. And postganglionic neurons in the ganglia. So these ganglia are sympathetic are either prevertebral ganglia or paravertebral ganglia. Autonomic though they are parasympathetic, they are directly close to the viscera or in the walls. So this ganglia in the head and neck we are given 4 names which I have already mentioned. Okay, so there the cell bodies are there. So a synapse takes place in the ganglia. So here sympathetic nervous system, so preganglionic neurons in the lateral horn cells of your spinal cord, T1 to L2, and this is the thoracolumbar outflow. And one fiber synapses with 20 postganglionic neurons. So sympathetic chains are on either side of your, from the base of your skull they begin. And in the cervical region, we have got 3 ganglia. So ganglia, usually we say it is a collection of cell bodies. So collection of cell bodies outside the CNS is ganglia, within it is called as nucleus. But to be more specific, ganglia is not just cell bodies. Rather, you've got some fibers also going through it. So some fibers which do not synapse also go through it. Some cells are there, then there are some connective tissue. So like that. So that's about a ganglia. So that's important for us now. Then postganglion location at lateral ganglia, nothing but your the sympathetic trunks, then collateral ganglia, terminal ganglia, like that. Then coming to parasympathetic nervous system, it is located in the brainstem and partly in the spinal cord. So brainstem at the level of midbrain, you've got your Edinger-Westphal nucleus, and in the pons you're getting this lower down, you're getting your lacrimatory and superior salivatory nucleus, then inferior salivatory nucleus, and much lower medulla, you've got your dorsal nucleus of vagus. And in the spinal cord, it is S2, S3, S4 lateral horns. So these are the ganglia which are there. So the pterygopalatine is also called as a spinopalatine ganglion. So when we are studying about the ganglia, so which is the topic of today, we have to know where this ganglion is located. Okay, so that's location. Then functionally it is related to a nerve. Like if you see the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, so it is related, the fibers are coming through what? They are coming to an oculomotor nerve. So that is a functionally related nerve. Then the nucleus is that 4 nuclei which I have previously mentioned. Then topographically related nerve is, which is that nerve which is like literally just going around throughout your face. So that's any head region, that is your trigeminal. So there are quite a number of trigeminal branches. So wherever you, whichever region you dissect, you find that there are branches of your trigeminal. So yesterday you've seen the scary diagram of trigeminal. So these ganglia are related to some branches of the trigeminal, and then we call it topographically related. So trigeminal is having so many nerves, like especially the divisions of thalamic, maxillary, mandibular. So to what it is related to. So that is the topographic related nerve. Then coming to the roots and the branches. So a ganglion is a mass, okay, it's having cell bodies and neurons. So something has to enter it. So those which are entering it, we call them as the branches. Those which are exiting, that we call it as the branches. So these are the, which enter are the roots and which exit are the branches, okay. So roots enter the ganglion and the branches leave it. So that particular name, what is what we should know. So these are all following a similar plan. So it's very simple actually, these ganglia are. So we just have to put things together. So these are having a parasympathetic, sympathetic and sensory root and branches of distribution. So each ganglion is having a parasympathetic root. That means the entry point of your preganglionic fiber. That should be the parasympathetic root. So this is a ganglion. Okay, so we are just talking of ciliary ganglion for suppose. So in the Edinger-Westphal nucleus, you have the cell body here and the fiber comes down here. Okay, and here I told you the postganglionic neurons are there and these exit. So this is the root. And then a sympathetic root. So I should have used this. Okay. So there is, this is an artery. I should not be using this color. Okay, so we have the carotid system of arteries, and around that we've got plexus of nerves. So your sympathetic trunk is starting from your base of your skull, whereas you've got your head and neck where the sympathetic innervation has to go. And how does it go? The only way it can go is through your carotids. So the carotid is dividing into your external carotid and an internal carotid. So if something has to go deep into your head, so that follows your internal carotid artery, so into the cranial cavity. So somewhere related here, it follows your external carotid artery course. Okay, so this is a sympathetic trunk. So all of them, they're getting their postganglionic fibers directly from your superior cervical ganglion. So this is superior cervical ganglion. See, this is a straight chain because I couldn't draw here. I've drawn it this way. I think I've sent some pictures in the mobile. You can just go through them, your sympathetic trunk. So here, from your spinal cord, the preganglionic fiber starts like this. Then these are the postganglionic fibers beginning here. They form a plexus around the carotid plexus. And then these also come here. And they cross it because they won't synapse because these are already postganglionic fibers. So where do they go? Like whatever region these are going, like if this is ciliary ganglion. So this is going towards your intraocular muscles. So into your eyeball. So eyeball is having blood vessels which require the sympathetic innervation. So your structures, whatever is there in your face, there are blood vessels which require sympathetic innervation. So postganglionic fibers have to travel. So some of them, they cross through your ciliary, the ganglion, and they go to the destination. So you can see one more route. So this is the sympathetic route. And this is what? Parasympathetic route. And then coming to sensory routes. So I told you throughout your face, you've got so many structures, so many branches of trigeminal. So same way here, this is topographic relation. Okay, some trigeminal, this is a nasociliary nerve going there. Okay, then this is going up to eyeball. So all of them are actually destined to go to the same place. That is your eye. Okay, so the sensations are being picked up. So sometimes the sensations, they directly enter here and then again go back to join your nasociliary nerve. So you can, this appears to be the third route. So if this is the sympathetic route, you've got one parasympathetic route, then this is a sensory route. So the route here is like whatever fiber is going through. This is a sensory fiber. So usually the sensations directly go through long ciliary nerves directly to your nasociliary. But sometimes they may course through your ciliary ganglion because it's there in its way. They tend to go through it. So here you can see these are the three routes of a ganglion. So this is a basic plan. So any ganglion, you usually have this. So this is the only functional route. Okay, this is the most important route. So these are just going through. Okay, so that's the basic plan. Then I'll tell you branches of distribution. So this entire thing is a branch. What should I use? Oh, sorry. The three, whatever they're coming out now. Yeah. So these three form one branch of the ganglion. There'll be so many branches. Okay. There'll be so many branches coming out. And each of this violet color, which I'm showing you as a branch, is having all these three fibers. That is some sensory fibers. Then there's a postganglionic parasympathetic fiber and a postganglionic sympathetic fiber. I hope you understood this. Please don't say you don't understand. Right? So this is about the basic plan of a ganglion. Then coming to this, so parasympathetic route carries the preganglionic fibers from the cells of origin brainstem nucleus. That is right. Then it is the essential functional route of ganglion because that's going to synapse, and that's the reason that particular ganglion is there. So this is where it synapses, and the other fibers, they just pass through the ganglion without a synapse. So sympathetic roots is carrying what? Postganglionic fibers. So from where? From the superior cervical ganglion. And where are the preganglionic cell bodies located? From your T1 to T3. Normally from T1 to L2 you have them, but which are coming to your superior cervical ganglion, they're from the T1 to T3. So the sensory root contains a peripheral process of cell bodies in trigeminal ganglion. So here see. So this is 3, you can see here. You can see the 7, and this is the 9th cranium. So here, what are the nuclei here in the brain? So this oculomotor nerve related to what? It is related to Edinger-Westphal nucleus. You must just dig your memories. I know you must be feeling sleepy, but no option. So pterygopalatine ganglion. Sorry, this is your lacrimatory nucleus. Then you've got superior salivatory nucleus. And with glossopharyngeal, which is the nucleus related, it is inferior salivatory nucleus. Okay. So the preganglionic fibers through oculomotor nerve from Edinger-Westphal, they go and they're going to synapse in the ciliary ganglion, postganglionic fibers. Then through lacrimatory, again here, they're going towards your pterygopalatine. Then to superior salivatory nucleus, through the facial, again they will be going to the submandibular ganglion. From inferior salivatory nucleus, through glossopharyngeal branch, preganglionic fiber, they are going into the aortic ganglion. So this is one thing which is important. And the rest you can see that this is representing the superior cervical ganglion. You can see all the postganglionic fibers, how they are just from the plexus around your, this is internal carotid, and this is external carotid. So these are ultimately reaching ciliary ganglion and all the 4 ganglia. And whatever here, this sensory fibers, which are just passing through. These are all what? Peripheral processes. And they finally go up where? To the trigeminal ganglion. Okay. So preganglionic fibers, where are they going? So this, they're going up to the particular ganglia. So what is coming from there? It is a postganglionic fiber. So where does this postganglionic fiber go? If it is going to your eyeball, there we have your intraocular muscles, which are waiting for the visceromotor fibers, which is sphincter pupillae, which will cause constriction of your pupil, and the other one is your ciliaris, which is important for accommodation of the lips. So if you want to read a book, you need this to be intact. Then coming to the salivary glands, so we've got salivary glands, that is your parotid is there, submandibular, sublingual. So these again receive the postganglionic innervation. And the other one, there are so many mucosa is there, like you've got your nasal mucosa, palatine, oral, pharyngeal. So all of them, they do have some mucous glands, so which also they get the innervation from these ganglia, including your lacrimal gland. So all that ciliary muscle. So that's in whatever sympathetic fibers are just going, they are going to the blood vessels especially. So coming to the first one, this is a ciliary ganglion. So this is located at the apex of the orbit. So what if you have seen the diagram which I have shown you a superior view of orbits. You've got a crista gallic fibriform plate and the orbital plate has been broken, and then I'm showing you. So from this view, I have sent a picture. Okay. So here, this is the eyeball. You've got the optic nerve. Okay, this is the apex of the orbit, and this is what you're seeing. This is your orbit. The apex is this. And you can see through optic canal, this is the optic nerve, which is piercing the eyeball here. And here you can see this is the ciliary ganglion. Okay, so almost it's close to the apex of the orbit. So ciliary ganglion is located at the apex of the orbit. Yeah, this one. And then here, this is which muscle? This is your lateral rectus. Okay, so here, so what is the location of the ciliary ganglion? It is near the apex of the orbit between the optic nerve medially and the lateral rectus laterally. So this is the location. And here you can see, this is a ciliary ganglion. And then here, if you remember the oculomotor nerve class, I've told you oculomotor nerve divides into 2 divisions, superior and inferior divisions, and these enter through a superior orbital fissure to enter into the orbit. So the inferior division gives rise to 2 fibers. Superior goes to your superior rectus and lateral levator palpebral superioris, and this other one goes to your medial rectus, inferior rectus, and inferior optic. So these preganglionic fibers go along with the nerve to inferior oblique. So this is going towards your inferior oblique. So the fibers, they just go and join here. Then here, see internal carotid artery, which is in the cavernous sinus, so like that, they're just going up. And from here, you can see this is sympathetic root. Okay? This is not short ciliary nerves. Okay, then you can see here, again, this is a nasociliary nerve, and you can see some fibers that just go here, the 3 divisions which are being shown. And these are the short ciliary nerves. So the branches of ciliary ganglion is given a name, and they're called as short ciliary nerves. So short ciliary nerves have all the 3 branches, that is 3 nerve fibers: postganglionic parasympathetic, postganglionic sympathetic, and sensory fibers. So about 8 to 10, they just emerge out, branches from your ganglia. And again, they divide into some 15 to 20, and they all pierce the eyeball. And you can see they're just going through it. So same here, see Edinger Westphal nucleus, oculomotor, superior inferior divisions. So this is going along with the inferior division. So this is Edinger Westphal nucleus here. And the fiber is going along with the other motor fibers of oculomotor, where oculomotor is dividing into superior and inferior division. It's following the course of inferior division towards inferior oblique. This nerve has to go, but this is leaving it and then entering into your ciliary ganglia. Okay, so this is one. And sympathetic trunk here, superior, this is the other, and here. So from the eyeball, you've got your iris, ciliary body, and all that. So there's a sensation picked up from there. So that will be going like this, showing the nasociliary branch. The same you can just go through. So the actions of this sphincter pupillae, majority of the fibers, 95% of the fibers go to your ciliaris muscle, which is very important for the accommodation reflex. And 5% go to your sphincter pupillae. And the sympathetic fibers, whatever they're going, they're not only to the blood vessels, but also they innervate your dilator pupillae muscle. And also, if you remember, I've told you that your levator palpebrae superior, this is actually under voluntary control, but there's another fiber muscle called superior tarsal, which is important for, which is innervated by sympathetic system. Okay, so when you're in a shock or in fear, you know, your eyeball and palpebral fissure tends to be more widened. That's because of this muscle, superior tarsal. So that also requires a sympathetic from the superior cervical ganglion, postganglion. So if there's a damage to it, then that's Horner syndrome. So that's about this, the 3 fibers which are going there. And the next one is the pterygopalatine fossa. So pterygopalatine fossa, I think previously the cranium was taught to you, the base of skull and all. You can't see the pterygopalatine fossa exactly, but you can see the pterygomaxillary fissure behind the maxilla. So this is that. This is your maxilla. So this bone here, this is the maxilla. You're looking from the side here. And this fossa where this red color you can see, so that is the fossa with them. So this is a fissure through which you can enter into the fossa. So I've sent one diagram to you. So the pterygopalatine fossa. So which one foramen opens into it? Foramen rotundum. Maxillary nerve enters. Then you've got another pterygoid canal. So into this fossa there are so many openings. Then you've got a palatovaginal canal or a pharyngeal canal. Then you've got palatine canals. So this will be a little complicated to understand because you have not seen the skull osteology directly. But even in skull classes, we can't show you all this foramen and fossae. And then this is the inferior orbital fissure going towards your orbit. So this is your pterygopalatine fossa. Okay. So this ciliary ganglion is at the apex of orbit. Pterygopalatine ganglion is in the pterygopalatine fossa. So practice the diagram to understand this. Rest all it's very simple here. So the maxillary nerve just it passes like this and leaves, goes into the orbit floor and then to infraorbital for a canal and foramen. And this is where you have your pterygopalatine ganglion. Okay, so this is the largest of all the ganglia. All of them are very much, small pinhead size, but this is comparatively larger than the others. So the spinopalatine or the pterygopalatine. And here we have a foramen to enter into the nasal cavity. So here, the lacrimatory nucleus and superior salivatory nucleus. Okay, so through the facial nerve, these will pass. So it's passing like this. The greater petrosal nerve enters like this, nerve of pterygoid canal, and goes up to here. And then so many branches. So some nasal branches, they go through the sphenopalatine foramen. Where will they go? They go up to the nose. Okay. Then here through the palate to your undersurface of your palate, they go. So here this will be going to your hard palate, and this goes behind towards your soft palate. And then here towards your nasopharynx. And then a few fibers here, they just go towards your orbitalis muscle. So like that, these are all the branches. So this one, so this is what lacrimatory nucleus. So from here you can see this is your facial nerve, the greater petrosal nerve, which is coming from your geniculate, the ganglion of the facial nerve, entering the nerve of pterygoid canal, and this innervation takes place. And then we have the sympathetic postganglion fiber also coming here. That's called deep petrosal, and together this is called the Vidian nerve or the nerve of pterygoid canal. So this is a pterygoid canal. There are two nerves. This is what? Greater petrosal nerve. And this is the deep petrosal nerve. These two are traveling together in the pterygoid canal, and then together they are called as a Vidian nerve or nerve of pterygoid canal, and this is going towards your pterygopalatine ganglion. Okay, so this one you just practice the diagram, you'll understand. So this is the largest peripheral parasympathetic ganglion, located where? In pterygopalatine fossa. Where is it? Below maxillary nerve. Okay, and then here it will be connected by two branches here. Because whatever sensory fibers enter from your nose or the palate, these just cross like this and go again through maxillary nerve. So this is one route. Very ugly diagrams I'm trying. Okay, this is one route. Then here you have your lacrimal gland. Okay, and maxillary nerve, we've got zygomatic branch. Okay, zygomatic branch divides again into zygomaticofacial and zygomaticotemporal. So one branch from here travels like this along zygomatic branch, zygomaticotemporal branch, then towards your lacrimal gland through the lacrimal nerve. So you can see one more branch now. So this is your pterygopalatine ganglion. You can see the two connections here. So in the pterygopalatine fossa, so this is the pterygopalatine fossa. Then below the maxillary, this is your maxillary nerve, connected to it by two ganglionic branches. Then topography related to what? This is your maxillary nerve. Function related to which nerve? The facial nerve. So what is the reason it's going up towards your lacrimal gland? To give the postganglionic parasympathetic fibers to your lacrimal gland for lacrimation. And then it's going towards your nose, the palate, oral cavity, and also to your orbital small glands. So that's also going to give innervation to all of them for secretions. So sometimes there is a hay fever where the pterygopalatine ganglion, so there is like running nose and eyes, also called as ganglion of hay fever. So sometimes in people who are having this repeated allergic rhinitis or frequent running nose and eyes, so they try to, there's some procedures which are related to pterygopalatine ganglion to decrease the secretions. So the nucleus is what? The lacrimatory nucleus. So here, this diagram, the facial nerve, this is the geniculate ganglion. See the greater petrosal nerve coming like this, passing the pterygoid canal, reaching up to the pterygopalatine ganglion. And here carotid plexus along the sympathetic plexus, deep petrosal nerve together form Vidian nerve, and then it's going towards your pterygopalatine ganglion. And you can see how all the branches of pterygopalatine ganglion. So branches of ciliary ganglion are short ciliary branches. Branches of pterygopalatine, we call them as orbital branches, nasal branches, pharyngeal branches, palatine branches, like that the names are. So for all the nasal branches, nasopalatine branch is the largest. And actually from here, they also innervate all your sinuses. So again, once again, refer to your paranasal air sinuses innervation and your nasal cavity also. So the superior posterior parasympathetic route is from this ganglion. from the lacrimature nucleus and then through nerve of pterygoid canal and the greater petrosal nerve. So all that stuff is seen. So branches to the lacrimal gland via the zygomatic and lacrimal nerves and mucous glands in the nose, nasopharynx and palate. So this is a dissection showing, this is the below the sphenoid here, you can see this part, pterygopalatine ganglion here. So from behind the nerve of pterygoid canal, and you can see these are the palatine branches. They're going to the undersurface of your palate. So here, this is your pterygomaxillary fissure. If you put a probe through this fissure, you will be going into the pterygopalatine fossa. Here. This is a diagram and the branches, just go through it. Then come to your submandibular ganglion. So this is your submandibular region and this is where you have your submandibular ganglion. So this is, you have one muscle hyoglossus. So previously I've asked you to draw the relations of your hyoglossus muscle. So this is a small ganglion which lies superficial to hyoglossus. I don't know if I have a diagram of that. Yeah. So this is your submandibular ganglion here. On the hyoglossus it will be present. So it's a small one lying superficial to which muscle of the tongue is this ganglion related to is the hyoglossus muscle. And through this, the postganglion fibers go to two regions, that is your submandibular gland and to the sublingual gland. So the postganglion fibers from your submandibular ganglion innervate both the sublingual gland as well as your submandibular gland. So both of them are important for your salivation. And topographic related to, so which is the nerve going towards your tongue? It's the lingual nerve. We should be picking up the sensation from your anterior 2/3. So obviously this will be connected to the lingual nerve. Function related to the facial nerve. From the superior salivatory nucleus, the chorda tympani branch from the facial nerve comes out and joins the lingual nerve. So the same here. So superior salivatory nucleus here you have. This is in the brainstem. This will be following the facial nerve course. Facial nerve geniculate ganglion comes down like this. So here greater petrosal nerve from the lacrimature nucleus. So this fibers will travel like this, and this is your chorda tympani. Okay. So meanwhile, you have the lingual nerve passing like this towards the tongue. So this is your tongue. This chorda tympani joins this and goes along with it. Then towards your lingual nerve is related your submandibular ganglion here. So then this leaves here. Okay. And then postganglion fibers, they have to go towards your submandibular ganglion. And this is where you have your sublingual ganglion. So again, these fibers, they go with the lingual nerve and go up to your sublingual gland. So this is how you can see, this is what? This is your lingual nerve. Lingual nerve. This is chorda tympani, it joins. So when you're dissecting, when you see a nerve coming from behind and joining the lingual nerve, that is your identification point to identify the chorda tympani. So that's how this is going. So same, this is parasympathetic route through chorda tympani. This is one parasympathetic route. Then you can see some sympathetic branches are going. And also few fibers, they may just go through and like this. So there will be your sensory routes. That's about your submandibular ganglion. So innervation of submandibular gland and sublingual gland, you have to draw the diagram if it's asked in the examination. Then coming to otic ganglion. So otic ganglion is located in the infratemporal fossa. So I hope in your latralis, normal latralis, it was shown, the infratemporal fossa. So here, the otic ganglion, it gives secretomotor fibers to which gland we are left with. We are left with your parotid gland. So secretomotor fibers to the parotid gland. So topographically related to mandibular nerve. if you remember your infratemporal fossa, so it is a foramen ovale. What is the nerve that passes through your foramen ovale? It is your mandibular nerve. So it just enters into your infratemporal fossa. So obviously it is connected with it because the mandibular nerve is present there as well as your aortic ganglion. So obviously there's a relation between them. But function related to what? Glossopharyngeal nerve. So which is the cranial nerve that innervates your parotid? It is the glossopharyngeal nerve. Okay, I'll just read this. So again, three roots: parasympathetic, sympathetic, and sensory. So coming to parasympathetic root, this is from inferior salivary nucleus. So the glossopharyngeal nerve. So again, here you have inferior salivatory nucleus in your brainstem, and the preganglion fibers comes out. This is glossopharyngeal nerve, along with other fibers of glossopharyngeal. This glossopharyngeal nerve, through jugular foramen, it leaves. Then it gives one branch called tympanic branch, which will join the tympanic plexus here. So along with it, the preganglionic fibers will go. Then from here, the lesser petrosal nerve emerges out from this plexus. Okay, and this one will be going towards the aortic ganglion. So this is your aortic ganglion. And from here, postganglionic fibers come, and these will innervate your parotid, secretomotor to parotid. Okay, so from the inferior salivatory nucleus to the glossopharyngeal nerve and its tympanic branch, to the tympanic plexus, and then to the lesser petrosal nerve, and that's how they're reaching your aortic ganglion. And sympathetic fibers, we have the middle meningeal artery, so there's an artery here, and the plexus, and these reach and they go up to your parotid gland. Okay, and a few fibers also, they just go auriculotemporal, they reach back. So the three roots. Then coming to the branches of this, so one is postganglionic parasympathetic fibers through auriculotemporal nerve. So they are the secretomotor. So these branches which are going, they are secretomotor to the parotid gland. And the sympathetic fibers which are going, the vasomotor to the parotid gland. Then coming to connections here. So I'll just show you one diagram here. So this is your foramen ovale. The mandibular nerve comes down like this, divides into anterior division and a posterior division. Okay, and just behind foramen ovale you have foramen spinosum. Okay, and through this passes your middle meningeal artery. And from the posterior trunk of the mandibular nerve arises one nerve called auriculotemporal nerve, which is by two roots. It encircles the middle meningeal artery and then goes here much behind. So you have the external acoustic meanders here. So up to this, you've got your joint here, your temporomandibular joint. So it just goes medial to it and behind it. And it's supplying to your ear, the temporal region, everything, auriculotemporal. And this is where you have your parotid gland. Okay. So, and this is the region where you have the aortic ganglion. So this aortic ganglion, from here, whatever postganglionic fibers, they pass through auriculotemporal nerve and they go up to it. Again, same way, here middle meningeal artery, the sympathetic fibers, they again pass and they enter here. Okay, and few of these sensory fibers also, they go through this particular ganglion. So that's about aortic ganglion. If you practice this diagram, you'll understand this. And one more thing here. So if this is your mandibular nerve, you have your aortic ganglion here, and you have the tensor villi palatini. Behind you've got your middle meningeal artery. And then here there is a medial pterygoid. Okay. This is mandibular nerve. This is medial pterygoid muscle. So from the trunk of mandibular nerve, fiber goes for innervation of the medial pterygoid. Then we have one more muscle deep here, what? Tensor tympani. I hope you remember the nerve muscles which innervate by the mandibular division. It's tensor tympani and this is tensor villi palatine. This is middle meningeal artery. And this is aortic ganglion. Okay. So from your trunk of the mandibular nerve, a branch goes to innervate your medial pterygoid muscle, okay, which is anterior to the aortic ganglion. Then from here, another branch comes, just passes through aortic ganglion, and then it goes up to your tensor villi palatine to supply it, and also to the tensor tympani. So that's what, unlike the other three ganglia, the aortic ganglion has additional somatic route because it's somatic fibers, motor fibers here. Not somatic, actually it is a motor route. From the nerve to medial pterygoid, the fibers pass without synapse to supply the tensor tympani and tensor villi palatine. So this is about the aortic ganglion. So I'll just quickly revise. You have to practice the diagrams because it's quite a number of osteology part and the nerve supply of many structures which were already dealt in your head and neck. So you have to just put them all together. If you do not have the knowledge of them previously, obviously this would be a very weird class for you today. So let's just finish it, summarizing it. So autonomic system is having two, that is sympathetic and parasympathetic. And parasympathetic we refer to as your craniosacral outflow. And in the cranium, that is in the head region, we've got 4 nuclei related to this parasympathetic system. That is your Edinger-Westphal nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, inferior salivatory, and your dorsal nucleus of vagus. Okay, but dorsal nucleus of vagus does not supply anything in your face, head and neck region. Rather, it goes to your thorax and abdomen. So only 3 are important for us. That is your Edinger-Westphal nucleus, superior salivatory nucleus, and inferior salivatory nucleus. Okay, the topmost part of your superior salivatory is also called as a lacrimatory nucleus. Clear? So out of the 4 original nuclei, we're talking of only 3. Okay. And then what are the cranial nerves? Normally it is like oculomotor, facial, glossopharyngeal, and vagus. But we will delete the vagus from this particular class. So we are left with the oculomotor, facial, and glossopharyngeal. Okay. And coming to the ganglia. So oculomotor, through it, the fibers go to ciliary ganglia. And through the facial, they go to pterygopalatine and your submandibular ganglion. So whatever secretions in your face, that is when you cry, or the salivation and the palatine mucosa, all of them, that's important for because of this facial nerve innervation. Then coming to glossopharyngeal, that is exclusively to one of the 3 major salivary glands, that is the parotid gland. Okay, so through the aortic ganglion. So ciliary ganglion, pterygopalatine, and submandibular related to the facial nerve, aortic ganglion related to your glossopharyngeal nerve. Then, so that's your functionally related nerve. Then what do you mean by topographically related nerve? So if you remember the ciliary ganglion related to your nasociliary nerve, which is a branch of ophthalmic division. Then when you go to pterygopalatine fossa, you're going towards your maxillary nerve. Then you're going to infratemporal fossa, there you find your aortic ganglion and it is related to your mandibular nerve. Then you go down to your submandibular region where you find a submandibular ganglion, there it is related to your lingual nerve, which is a branch of a posterior division of mandibular nerve. So these are the topographically related nerves. Then coming to the roots and branches. So ganglia, whatever fibers appear to enter the ganglion, they are called as the roots. And these are all, they're individually characterized like sensory root, sympathetic root, and parasympathetic root. And whatever exit from it appear to exit. So these are all called branches which are having all the different types of fibers together. Okay. And the branches of ciliary ganglion are short ciliary nerves, which are 8 to 10 in number. They pierce the sclera and they go up to innervate whatever they have to do intraocular muscles. And the branches of pterygopalatine ganglion are nasal branches, orbital branches, and then pharyngeal branch, palatine branches like that. But submandibular ganglion, we don't have any names. It's like a branch going to submandibular gland, branch going to sublingual gland, that's it. Okay, so that's about the roots and branches. So roots are individually characterized, whereas branches have all the 3 different types of fibers. Okay, that's one point. Location, apex of orbit is your ciliary ganglion, infratemporal fossa is your aortic ganglion, pterygopalatine fossa is pterygopalatine ganglion, submandibular region is your submandibular ganglion. So, and sympathetic fibers, they all come from your superior cervical ganglia. So post-ganglionic sympathetic fibers, which are traversing through all the 4 ganglia, they are coming from where? From your superior cervical ganglia. And sensory fibers, which whatever nerve they're related to, a few fibers just pass through it. So that's about it. You have to draw the diagrams, and these branches related with the innervation of your nose, lacrimal gland, parotid gland, all of them. And that's the end of the cranial parasympathetic ganglia of the head and neck.